I went blind on purpose, but I don't feel it was a choice.
For most people, going blind would be a nightmare. But for Jewel Chooping, it was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream.
I hate the word homeless. I despise it. The stigma around that word is disgusting. So I tend to say displaced, because we're all trying to find our place in life. But
John, you know, when we see you in the video and you say, okay, you're the ballerina, you sound so supportive. You don't sound like one of those dads who is like, you're not the ballerina, you're the football player, right? So were you open-minded to that possibility, or were you not even thinking about that early on?
I wasn't thinking about it early on, and I was open-minded to what I am with all my kids, which is to be, you know, unconditionally loving and supportive, and to listen to them. And if she wanted to be a ballerina that day, she got to be a ballerina, and I was going to support that.
Chazzy was born into the most masculine of households, right? This is real, and it's cool.
And I said, I'm changing my gender. He was like, what do you mean you change your gender? I was like, I'm changing my gender. You can change your gender. And he was like, I'm doing it too.
If you're asking me if I'm gay, I am gay because I'm a lesbian. When I tell people that, they go, no, that's not what I meant. And I'm like, well, you're asking me then if I'm straight, and then their brains break.
There is a cost if you are a black person to loving a white person. The cost is dealing with racism, dealing with what it means to deal with white privilege.
I first sort of started noticing things about the white genocide in South Africa, meme, I guess if you'll call it.
This is how institutional racism thrives. This is how institutional misogyny thrives. This is how institutional xenophobia thrives. And this is how queer folks, people of color, feminists, trans folks, all of us are discriminated against, because these are people who have these thoughts and they're able to freely spread them on Twitter.
If Silicon Valley can invent a self-driving car, they can figure out how to address the abuse on their platforms. They just have to care about it enough.
Metro Wellness and Community Centers are holding their second annual Metro Youth LGBTQ+ Summer Camp.
Absolutely. So Metro Wellness and Community Centers is an LGBTQ+ nonprofit that offers inclusive primary health care, counseling services, HIV outreach prevention and continued care, which includes free HIV and hepatitis C testing daily. And we also do LGBTQ+ social programming.
How do I raise him in a world where hate is no longer an undercurrent? It is right there in all of our faces, all of the time. What do you even say? How do you explain this? And my son has taken a class this year, actually, that he was in civil rights. So I'm doing everything I can, and I know his school is doing everything they can to make these kids aware.
Yeah. Right.
But how do you explain that this is where our world is?
Hey, can you do this?
And at a charity event for children, I finally get to witness her true fursona.
No, not quite.
Like most furries, Lindsay doesn't talk in costume.
Oh!
So Josh acts as her interpreter.
Do you like cats?
Yeah.
Today, we're taking our comment filtering technology even further by launching a bullying filter that hides language intended to harass or upset people.
Now, children of same-sex parents are happier and healthier than their peers. Kids raised by a mother and a father.
In the category of general health, well-being, and family cohesion, these kids that are being raised by gay parents are actually faring better than their peers. The second thing that the study concluded was that in most of the other categories, they're doing just the same as their peers. In families where you have two same-sex parents, they tend to divide and conquer in the things that make them better parents. And so the focus is on the kids, which means better cohesion. It also means because their focus is on the kids feel like they're a tighter unit and their well-being is better.
And we've created an independent election research commission so independent academics can give us ideas and hold us accountable to make sure that these systems work. Now, this is an important election year, and we are focused on this. We are focused on fighting fake news more broadly. All of this we're fighting in the same way, with AI tools, with thousands of content reviewers, and the playbook here is building tools to get better at flagging content that is going viral so fact checkers can look at it so we can show it less. And for the people who do see it, to make sure that they see related articles that are more accurate, that put this in context so people can understand what's really going on.
A crucible. That's what this was. That's right. This was just a freak.
Should I move to Salem? It's been a witch trial.
Girl, you know they would have
That's right.
painted you with a letter
I know.
if they could. Is it worth it? Like, if you had to go back, would you do anything the same?
I mean, okay, so it took me a long time to get here, but I actually have to defend that photo.
And do they have an inclusive environment that has a high level of cultural competence? Because it's very, if you've never experienced the lived experience.
15 schools were ordered to give up their feathers and war paint by 2017 or potentially lose state funding. At Roseburg High School alone, the estimated cost to replace the feather logo on athletic facilities, books, T-shirts, uniforms, and more is between $340,000 and $600,000. Estimates vary for the other 14 schools.
It really saddens me to think that we're weighing against here the civil rights and discrimination against some students, against the cost that it might be to change these images. I don't think if you asked me to put a price tag on civil rights, I don't think I could do it.
The National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance, or NAFA. Members here are encouraged to look in the mirror and embrace what they see.
It's called Angry White Male Studies in the Humanities Department. The course description says it charts the rise of the angry white male in America and Britain since the 1950s, exploring the deeper sources of this emotional state while evaluating recent manifestations of male anger.
You know, there's this idea that the federal government is overreaching, that there's this plot to subvert the United States sovereignty into a new world order.
Another example, someone tweeted at me, "Why are Jews so weak and bad at sports?" Now, does this guy actually believe it? I doubt it. He just thought it would get me angry. But what it actually was a fastball down the middle. And so I just excerpted his tweet and said, well, of course Jews don't really participate in athletics. That's what we use to divert the energy of the Gentiles while we take over the systems of power. So,
white supremacists dressed up in golf shirts and chinos. Again, the politics of disrespectability.
So if you really want to get into that, you want to build a wall for somebody, build a wall for some of the white nationalists and supremacists in this country and keep them out because, you know, they making racism okay again.
Logan Smith, who runs the Twitter account Yes, You're Racist, decided they did not deserve to be anonymous. On Saturday, he started posting photos of protesters on his Twitter page, as his followers jumped from fewer than 65,000 to about 350,000. They started helping him put names to faces.
I think of our kids as little activists. We were at Disneyland for Gay Days, and a person just walking by looked at the kids' t-shirt, and they had pride shirts on, and they just smartly commented that they don't even know what it means. And then the girls, Jasmine to be specific, she looked up and she told the lady that it meant love in different forms.
And go to the airport. They're gonna tell you that you can't stay, that's all right. Just keep chanting and don't move. I'll do my best to send a lawyer to you, because at that point I was like getting people who were like, I'm a lawyer, I'll help. And then this was literally, I was connecting St. Louis, like teacher St. Louis, to like lawyer St. Louis, being like, you guys might need each other in case they try to arrest you.
I did not even know that non-binary people existed until I was 17. I didn't know it was an option for me. I just sat for so long with these feelings of uncomfortability around my body and who I was, but I didn't have the language to describe it.
Images of trans and gender non-conforming and non-binary people, it's like a vacuum. There are so few images of us in culture. I have always felt a personal mission to create more images of our people.
On our closing night, I was there with my drag house and we were wearing really obnoxious, colorful fur costumes. Because we were like, let's be Harajuku, oh my god, we're so kawaii, yes!
They're transitioning to a gender they were not born in, and that means a race against time.
I was constantly worrying so much before Blockers that my voice would break or I'd develop really masculine features, and it wasn't healthy.
There's a
major issue with the kind of identification and validation of trans and non-binary people, especially in youth and especially in kind of like public sector services. So we've got like healthcare is a complete kind of like minefield when it comes to trans people and non-binary people when it comes to identification, pronouns. Pronouns that preferred, they're essential, especially for young trans people.
Now Facebook apologizing to a Texas newspaper for part of the Declaration of Independence being labeled as hate speech.
So the thing that white feminists have to realize, they have to learn that they are part of a community, that they are implicated in the behavior of other white women, that they are responsible for those white women.
So Riley is a multi-award-winning adult performer, but her profession can come with a lot of scrutiny, stress, and a whole lot of Instagram trolls. But even with all this drama, she remains chill and perky as fuck. So I'm ready to hear what she has to say.
I'm Lisette, and I racked up $10,000 of debt trying to become an Instagram influencer.